Kristen Newman died, found herself face to face with God, and felt so ashamed of herself. But what God said to her and showed her in her life review changed everything. What do you think God would say to you in your life review? Comment and let me know. And if you've had a profound spiritual experience that you would like to share on the show, you'll find the link to apply in the description box below. I would love to hear about your near-death experience and any relevant information leading up to it.
Yes, absolutely. I have severe heart problems with all the electrical things with my heart. So supraventricular, ventricular tachycardia, and I have a lot of skipped beats, a lot of arrhythmias. I've had four, now five, but four beforehand heart surgeries. So where they go in and they do this electrophysiological study of the heart, and then they go in and ablate it. So, and I actually had one more ablation surgery the summer of 2023. And then November 3rd, the morning of November 3rd, and I'm already crying. The morning of November 3rd, which is my husband's birthday, is November 3rd. He's in construction. He owns his own business now, and he has for several years. So everything happens for a reason. And if he, worked for another company or something like that, he wouldn't have been home. So divinely orchestrated. I actually realized this afterwards. My friend sent this to me once I got home. I was home for a couple of weeks after everything happened. And she says, look what you messaged me on October 30th. The morning of October 30th, I heard, like I can hear you in my ears, there was a male voice who said a whole lot of stuff that I don't even remember. So the male talked to me and I have no idea what he said. I still don't. And then this female voice spoke to me and she goes, it's happening, it's time. So that was October 30th, 2023, November 3rd, 2023. I have episodes a lot. It affects all of me. I was having a class at 10 o'clock that morning and I went in to take my shower. Our daughter was home. She was actually supposed to be in a class and she wound up skipping that class. And so she was home. I was supposed to be by myself. My husband normally will be in the other room, gaming or something like that. And he's like, he stayed and laid in bed and I kept the door open to the bathroom. And I was feeling good that morning. It was one of those mornings where I would have gone out somewhere, gone shopping or done something or whatever. I felt really good. It was one of my better mornings. And I went and I took a shower and I'm in the shower and I put my conditioner in my hair and I let it sit in my hair so it can get, nice and hydrated. And I turned and I looked at the shower and I normally say like prayers and different things. And it was in that moment, my husband apparently said, what happened? Whatever you did, you got the dog's attention. And that's when he looked over and saw me turning blue on the floor. The other thing too, is we had just redone our bathroom. So our shower would have been enclosed with glass and it's not, it's fully open now. So I would have hit my head and probably shattered glass had it been, different. But I knew something was happening and there was no moment that I could say help or anything. I instinctively went against the wall. And I came out in that moment out of my crown, out of the top of my head, and I faced myself. And the way I could see myself wasn't perfectly clear. It was hazy, like on a hot day and you see that haze. It was kind of hazy, but I knew exactly who I was. I knew exactly what was happening. And I'm like, I just died. So I came out of my body and I watched myself slide down and I fell and hit my head on the marble. And that's when the dogs reacted. My husband saw me. I saw myself turn purple. I saw my daughter's face. And then I was taken outside. But what happened was when I fell, I turned blue and my husband ran over, was doing chest compressions, screaming for our daughter who was like dragging her feet, thinking she was in trouble for something. And she came in, it was like, oh my gosh. So I could not, still have not seen my husband's face during this whole NDE. And my mom's like, you don't want to. But I saw her face and she's steadfast, just like her dad. Do what needs to be done in the moment. Because if she wasn't home, I mean, I have two dogs at the time, two dogs and two cats. And she needed to get them into a room so they were secured, go out. I mean, if my husband had to stop to call 911, who knows what would have happened then. So he had to give constant chest compressions because I would just continue to turn colors. So after seeing Emily's face, and I saw her face clearly, like not even her hair, it was her face, her eyes. And I was out and I was in the ambulance and I could see this stuff going on. That's when they were intubating me because I was unresponsive and they intubated me. And then from there, I was just out. I went right over and I went straight to God. No question.
If you've been feeling disconnected from spirit, disconnected from divine love, I have an offering for you. I now offer one-on-one energy work sessions. It's my very favorite work that I've ever done. I completely rebalance your energy field and give you a transfusion of divine love and healing energy for any specific area of need. And follow it up with feedback on what I find in your energy field, a little bit of spiritual coaching, and simple takeaway practices that you can take into your life and implement to help you cultivate a deep connection with divine love. I offer 30-minute sessions, 45-minute sessions, and I'm currently offering 50% off on my 4-session package. Check the link in the description to sign up.
And then from there, I was just out. I went right over and I went straight to God. No question, that's who it was. Seeing God, being raised Catholic, and seeing source, because the name is just not all encompassing to me to say God anymore, you know? So source, all that is love. When you look at a sunset and you see this, it's not orange, it's definite, it's God is, the way I perceived God is yellow, but like this yellow with a tinge of orange, like that gorgeous glow that you can look at. It's not like you couldn't look at this beautiful ball of light and this beautiful masculine and feminine energy. And I remember when I came out of my body and I did go to God, I remember swirling around. It feels like you have a body, but it like your awareness will go down, kind of like we put our head down and everything. And it's just your awareness that goes. So I remember swirling around and not feeling the lower vibrational feelings we have here, the shame, the guilt, the jealousy, the worry, the anxiety, all gone. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, we hold on to so much. And I remember thinking that in that moment, we hold on to so much. And then it was, you know, God is here. And I know my higher self was behind me, who's a seraphim angel. And I perceive the seraphim as these pearlescent dragons. So I could see her behind me, like the tail and just the swirliness of her. And this was God. And I remember, and I just, being Catholic, I'll always say he, but he had said to me, you did so amazing. You did such a great job. And I remember having this conversation, and the bits and pieces of it were, I remember Kristen being so ashamed of being so childlike, goofy and silly and childlike. And God said, that's me. That's me. You took that from me. Like when we have a baby and they have a certain smirk or a certain thing that you do and you say, oh, there you are, there I am, or there's your dad or something like that. That's me. Because God is this, when you look at children, whimsical, happy, magical, childlike, that is source. But with this grounding wisdom at the same time. And I remember having these just discussions with him. I don't remember all of it, but I remember talking about that. And I remember these rays of light that started to come onto me. So I looked like the sun. And God said, look at the light. If you go to each light, those are loved ones praying for you. So when I looked down, I could hear screaming, yelling, crying, whispering, Chris, Kristen, Chrissy, Chris, Chrissy, Chrissy. And I could go to that person. I don't remember going to them, but I know that I could go to them. So when we pass, I had no pain. There was no pain. Boom, gone. No pain at all whatsoever. And I was just unbelievably happy. And in so much awe and joy. And it was like, I'm home. I'm home now. And God showed me my life review, and it was everywhere my consciousness looked. I could see my life review. Mine is very different because I was able to. So when you have a life review, it is all about others, not you. It's how you made them feel. My life review was everything I did positive for others. And it does not mean, because I remember someone had commented on something I was on a while ago, you must be a really good person. That's not it. My soul, our souls learn in many different ways. And God chose to show me what it feels like to make people joyful and happy and laugh and feel loved and appreciated. And that's what I experienced. So I was able to see these images from when I was little, handing my mom a little buttercup flower and how it made her feel and how happy she was in that moment, making someone laugh, saying that someone has a beautiful smile, or just these little things as well as big things in life. But it's about how you make them feel. And I remember that now, which is why I'm crying, because it's such a profound feeling when you do something for someone else and how it can impact them. Really important, especially in the world today where we think things can be very chaotic. So doing those little things really mean a lot to others. So from there, I went to the welcoming area, I guess I would call it. And I saw everybody. There was a sea of people. Now I'm a medium as well. I channel guides and all of that. I saw everyone I've channeled, animals I've channeled. My loved ones, funny enough, I don't remember them being front and center. It was about other things in that moment. But I remember when I was doing readings sporadically throughout the years previously, the being, there was one dog in particular that was hit by a car. And the dog turned and looked at me because it was like looking at his mom because she was grieving. So I was giving her messages. But the dog turned and looked at me and said, "It doesn't hurt. God took me out. It doesn't hurt." But I remember now they would turn and look to me, and I always thought, okay, they're just looking at me and telling me. But they knew this was going to happen. So they were telling me it doesn't hurt. So when I got there, front and center was one of my friends who's also a medium. It was her son that passed away several years ago, Trent. And I saw him and he smiled, but it wasn't a gummy teeth smile. It was this smirk, and one side of his mouth was higher than the other, and we embraced. And I know I saw a lot others there, guides that were there, but I saw Jesus. And the words that he said, I actually had engraved on a bracelet because he put his hand, because I could see everyone as humanoid, an animal, and how we see as a human. And he put his hand on my heart and he said, I am, you are, we are, knowing we're all connected. So from there, I had a choice. Did I want to stay or did I want to go? And I remember thinking, oh, I'm going back. Kristen's coming back. And before I came back, I had this really interesting experience of being given another healing modality. And I didn't know what it was or really how I was using it. I was fumbling through it, and Spirit told me, "You're going to understand more, but you got to give it time for you. You'll know. Just keep on going." And God said, "I need to infuse you with rainbow light cord energy." And I had this double helix of like rainbow, looked like DNA, hieroglyphs, all these imagery going around my spirit. And I knew that it was happening to my body too, because God said, "We need to infuse your body so you can house this energy. So your human body while you're not in it, and me up there." And it's important to say too, while all of this was going on, my mom, who's in her early 80s, she's in my classes and everything, and I've taught her how to perceive her guides and all of that. So when they were driving to the hospital and my husband called them, Mom kept saying, "Please give me a sign that Chrissy's going to be okay. Just give me a sign." So my mom, I call her my tree, and I'm her apple because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And Mom said there were two really odd things that happened on the way to the hospital. One of them being there were no birds. She goes, "Kristen, there were no birds on the way. Like normally you see them on telephone poles flying by. We're in Florida, they're everywhere. No birds." She goes, "When we got to the hospital, birds everywhere, like all on everywhere, on the poles, on the lines, everywhere, everywhere." And when she got there, the head nurse introduced herself and said, "Hi, my name is Apple. I'm the head nurse for Kristen." And my mom, I guess, made like a face or something, blown away by her name. And she goes, "Yes, my name is Apollonia. My friends call me Apple." And then my daughter, she loves looking at people's eyes because the eyes are like not just the window, it's the window to the soul, truly. It looks like the universe. It's not just brown or green or blue. There's just such depth in the eyes, the different flecks and the glow and everything. And I'm intubated. So my eyes had opened. Emily got all excited, and Apple said, "Sweetie, she's not back. That's just her body's reaction." And Emily said to me after all of this, she goes, "Mom, that was not your eyes. Those were not your eyes. Those were not your eyes. They were flat. There was no color to them other than you could see they were brown, but they weren't your eyes. You didn't have the depth in it or anything." But once, okay, I said I was coming back. They infused my energy. And then I wound up going to, and I've been to this place before in dreams. I call it the Great Hall. It could be the Akashic Records as well. One whole side wasn't all window, but it was a huge window. And the panes on it, the outlining was black. And this side, all books. And it was this huge table. There were two lighted beings in front of me. There was another being next to me, which I didn't turn and look. I don't remember, but I know that was my higher self. And then these two beings here, which I found out later on through talking to someone else, that these are my soul guides that have been with me since the birth of my soul. And those are the ones that talked to me on October 30th. I found out afterwards too. One is male and one is female. Crazy things that have happened. So the Marauders map in Harry Potter that moves. I was in total control. It was me. So when we're complaining about, "I can't believe this happened to me. God, why is this happening to me?" Oh, don't blame God for nothing, people. It's you. You did it. You said, "This is what I'm going to do." And so I had this timeline, and I'm like, okay, and you're going through each day, each month, each year. Do I remember seeing it? No. I remember seeing it, but not detail stuff, because I guess that would be cheating. But the one thing I remember saying was, she's coming back and it's going to be amazing. We're going to make it amazing. And I remember saying, okay, what kind of amazing? Like, what was it? So I was in total charge and saying what we were going to do. And then I was back. Now, remember, this happened November 3rd in the morning. And I don't remember what time I woke up. I think it was through the night. We'll say that. It was through the night. But when I came back, I came back. And my husband said, "You sure did. When you were back, my eyes open and they have you strapped down." And I was intubated. They didn't know if I broke my neck. So I had, a brace on my neck. I had staples in my head, all these different things. And I remember just looking around, and I had the attention span of a gnat. I couldn't remember more than 30 seconds or so. I couldn't speak in that moment. So my husband kept calming me down. You fell in the shower and all that kind of stuff. But when I was back, and they removed everything. My parents came in early in the morning on Saturday, on the 4th. And my mom said, because my hair still has the conditioner in it. So I turned and looked, and she goes, "You had one curly Q Dr. Susie hair that was sticking right out the side." She goes, "The look on your face," I felt peaceful. I was so content. I was so happy. I wasn't excitable. It wasn't like, it was just, I just felt so at peace and just so content and happy. And hi. And I was so happy to see my parents. It's like I was in a hotel room and not a hospital. That's how it felt to me. Of course, I felt it throughout the time because my chest hurt and everything else. And I had to do breathing exercises and scans and all that kind of stuff. But so my friends, John and Suzanne, they were there through this whole thing. And John said, "Kristen, what did you see?" And Suzanne said, she goes, "Kristen, you have to understand how amazing this is because you could not," she goes, "everything that we were asking you," because the nurse says, "Don't overwhelm her, but ask her a few questions to start getting her brain going. Don't overwhelm her because it might freak her out." So, "Do you know who you are? Do you know who this is? Do you know who the president is? What year is it?" Like all different random things. "When's your birthday?" Just different stuff. And Suzanne said, "Kristen, you had to think. She goes, you could see your eyes going and trying to grab stuff in your brain to say. You were searching for the answers." And she said, "As soon as John asked you, 'Kristen, what did you see?' She's like, I went right to God." And and I just went on. I only remembered being with God at that point. And then it was like days I would remember all of everything else that had occurred. But the most amazing part is friends that I have in this community. When I came home, I had such a nudge to message my friend to tell her that I saw Trent. And I'm like, "No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. My ego is getting in the way." And the guide said, "It's important." And Trent came forward and said, "Please let my mom know this is important." So I messaged her and I said, "Cammie, I saw Trent. I saw this smile. We embraced and laughed." And she goes, "Kristen, we had a prayer group for you." She said, "Trent came to me and said, I hugged Kristen." So that's why it was important for me. I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to I don't know. I just didn't want to do that." And nope, that's your ego getting in the way. It's important. And that's why it was important because I could validate her and she was validating my experience. I had a mentor that spoke with me and she goes, "Kristen, I saw you dancing or like swirling." I said, "That's when I first came out of my body." And I was just swirling around like, yes, no body. And I felt, just happy and joyful. And then another friend of mine, because I didn't tell anyone anything yet. This was while I was in the healing process and everything. And my friend said, "Kristen, I saw you looking like the sun. You just had all of these beams of light off of you." So she saw the part where I had all of the prayers on me where I could, hear people and everything. So the experience itself was amazing and magical. And then I can have some guilt at times because it was a beautiful experience for me and so traumatic for my family. But to have this connection, to have that experience. And Spirit said, when you're asked to share your story, say yes. Don't look them up. Just say yes and share it. And that experience alone has been life-changing. And then afterwards, when my higher self, me, said, oh, she's coming back and we're going to make it amazing. It really has been. And it's hard work. A lot of people think that being spiritual and everything is just bliss and all of that. It's a lot of work to work into the depths of the self and look at the traumas and different aspects of ourselves that we don't want to see, especially if we have anger or jealousy, like those emotions we don't like, the traumas, all the victim stuff, all of these things. But it was transformative. And every day, I was just thinking this morning, I think about it every morning because I still live here. There's a ding on the wood when you come into my bedroom where the gurney had hit the wall right there. And I don't want it fixed. I want to see it. I want to touch it. I think about it. So those that are going through traumas, it's like grief, right? We can think of things fondly and with gratitude. And then some days we can be very overwhelmed with the emotion and that part of it as well. So this morning was definitely more of my weepy mornings, but it's so powerful and it's so amazing because we could be gone like that. And it's so important for people to know that if you've lost a loved one, especially if it's something tragic, God takes you. The body, we're mind, body, spirit. So the spirit is out and the body will feel, but I wasn't in there to feel any of that. When I came back in, I could feel what happened and my chest hurt and my ribs and all of that. But God takes you out. So always look at the eyes. You can tell if someone's there by the eyes and the hands. Because my daughter said, because when I hold her hand, you're not feeling the weight of my hand. I'm rubbing my thumb on her hand or something like that. And she's like, it was just dead weight, just not moving. You don't realize how heavy a hand is. But afterwards, I was just in bliss, truly. For 4 months after that, I was just floating on this beautiful energy of it and really remembering, really embodying what it was like. When I was talking with someone else about it, they're like, you were born again. Because when children come in, they have this whimsical, innocent, way about them. And when you're 7-ish years old, 8 years old is when you start getting on, all of these, different lower vibrational things from society, from family and all that kind of stuff. And learning how to function in this realm, basically. But I was just in bliss for several months afterwards. And that was my NDE.
Thank you so much for sharing, Kristen. Love how you described the life review about it being how we make other people feel. And even something as simple as making somebody smile. Like we say simple, but it's not simple. That's what it's all about. That's like why we're here.
Yes, I remember my mom's birthday is in January. And so January 2024, after my NDE, I had ordered flowers for her. And I was so giddy, excited, and I couldn't wait for her to get it because I love to garden. I'm a garden person. So I'm very particular about if I send someone flowers, what they look like and all of that. So it's like every gesture, I was just like a kid, but it wasn't me opening up the present. I couldn't wait until they did. It was just being able to relive that aspect through someone else in that way. But
you mentioned that when you came back, you were in bliss for 4 months. What was that experience like to stay in that bliss while also being in this life?
Well, even if I had fear, because for the first time ever, I've never broken anything. I've had surgeries, gallbladder, heart surgeries, things like that. But I had staples in my head, so I had to go and have them removed. So I remember being fearful, but I was just channeling. I'm an open channel all the time. I really am. They swoop in when I'm doing laundry or brushing my teeth or whatever, and I just there's this feeling of calm at the same time. So I knew everything was going to be okay, and I can differentiate what my ego feels and what my true spirit feels. It's a crazy thing to try and explain because we're two beings at once. A lot of people, especially Disney, you have the devil and the angel on the shoulder, how they always depicted it. It's not the devil and the angel, it's actually the ego and the spirit, the higher self aspect. But I was, and I remember my husband and I were going to dinner one night and I was just looking out and I was smiling because it was that beautiful sunset. And I just looked and I was like, "Hi, God." And because it was that gorgeous color and it just made me smile. And I say hi. And I turn over and look to my husband and he goes, "Why do you look like you want to kill Batman?" When I live in a very sarcastic home. So, and he's a Batman fan. So I'm like, "I'm happy, you jerk." So he was just teasing me, but it was the "why do you look like you want to kill Batman?" was I'll never forget that. But it was just happy and things were funny. I was poking fun of things when we were at the hospital and nothing bothered me. Everything just kind of, "Oh well, okay. That's fine. We'll go around that." Well, I just flowed with it. I didn't get upset about anything. It was just happy and content and gratitude, the gratitude that was there and the connections. I remember my first time home alone. I was out in the garden. My husband was at work, daughter was at school. And I always have my music going when I'm out in the garden. And Andy Grammer's "I'm Yours" is my husband's and my song. And that song came on and I lost it. It was the type of crying where you just can't catch your breath. And instinctively, I took my gloves off. And my neighbor has this glorious oak tree in his backyard that hangs into mine. And I've had experiences with this oak tree and have seen the spirit orb of the tree. And the tree said to me, "Go to my roots," because in my yard, there's a part where I can feel the root of that tree. And all I heard was "go to my roots." So I instinctively took my gloves off, went over, and I squatted down. I was sitting on the ground. I had my hands on the root of the tree, and I'm just sobbing. And the tree just said, "Breathe. Just breathe with me, breathe." The emotion just went right through me, and I was breathing, and I was laughing, and I was smiling, and the tree was able to help absorb that and bring me back to this calm state again. So all of these experiences and really understanding how to connect with nature more, with healing, with listening to my body, listening to myself, since we're these portals of energy and connection all the time.
I'm curious, do you remember what your first spiritual experience was?
Yes, I've had really cool ones. Let's see, my favorite ones. So one in particular, I do several different types of healing modalities. The first one that I was attuned to is called Kundalini Reiki. And it was before I was attuned. I think it was right before I had my attunement, where the energy was passed on to me from my practitioner. I was laying in bed one morning and I opened my eyes and I had two dogs at the time. I still have those two dogs. Now I have three. But I have Penny and Lola, and then my husband and I laying in bed. And I opened my eyes, and it was like maybe wee hours ish of the morning, but close to getting up type of time. All of a sudden, I was in this white space room. It had three sides, very tall ceilings, but it had an opening to go outside. I could hear the water, and I couldn't see anything other than hands. But the crazy thing is I opened my eyes and I'm back in the room and I'm like, okay, my husband's snoring. The dog started snoring. I closed my eyes. I was right back there. Like right back there where I can go and I can look around. Like I could only see so much. They had me in like a straight position, like don't move your head. And they were popping my lower chakras. So my root, my sacral, and my back chakras. So the back chakras are past this life and alternate lives. So, and the back of my sacral. And it didn't hurt, but it felt weird. And they were pulling out and popping this energy, and I would wake up in jolts. And Lola had like her paw that was, because she does this thing where she goes on her back and her paws go straight, and I was smacked in the head by her. So I opened my eyes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm having a woo-woo moment here. Closed my eyes, I was right back there, but it would jolt me every time I would have these sensations. I knew they were angels. I knew they were angels, and I don't remember, but I know that I walked out in that open area and went down into the water and was just cleansed from that after they did that. That was one experience. Oh my gosh, there were so many fun ones because I do have friends that do this as well. So I had a friend over, we were outside, and I've been seeing my grandfather, and he likes to sit on my rocking chair outside the glider. And my friend turned around and she's like, oh my God, I just saw a man sitting there. And I said, really, what does he look like? Because you don't say anything, you just let her. She's like, he's more heavy set, not a lot of hair, and older. And I said, that's my grandpa. And that's so it validated me seeing him sitting there. And then for her to see it as well is just so much fun. But I also have these Galactics. They're Pleiadians, very tall, Nordic looking beings with these long robes on. And there's three of them, and they stand in certain places in my home. And my daughter, she was like, Mom, I feel something weird when I go like back and forth in the hallway right here. And I said, what does it feel like? She goes, I don't know. I just don't know what it is. And I said, that's because there's a being that's standing there. They cleanse the house, and there's one in the hallway and one in the front, between the front and the kitchen right there, and then one here at my door. So for her to be able to feel it as well. Oh, okay. So two more really cool ones that I'll share too. Man, there's so many. I just love them so much. I had an experience where when I wake up in the middle of the night, a lot of times I will physically see with my physical eyes, like I'm looking at you, beings, whether they be angels, a lot of galactics. But I was laying in bed, and right here was a very tall man in a gray cloak. The cloak was over his head. So I could see his eyes and his face, but it was the beard that really got me. And he leaned forward and he goes like this with his finger. And as soon as he gets like this far from me, his finger went digitized. And he punctured my third eye. And I went, who are you? And I heard in my head, a druid. And I'm like, a druid. Okay, what's a druid? So I'm like, okay, let's find who this druid is. And I heard the druid. The druid is Merlin. So right. Merlin touched my third eye. But the cool thing is I didn't realize the full capacity as to what he did until several months ago. So that's a fun thing because I went through a Kundalini awakening, a dark night of the soul, all of these things after my near-death experience. And I said, did you turn off my vision or something? I'm not seeing like I used to, although I was still seeing things. But he said, I turned on your inner vision. So to look inward. And it was just very powerful. So a lot of those that are out there, that if you are having spiritual experiences, it can be frustrating because we want we want to know what's going on, and we want like it to start and end. Like we want the consecutive, quick understanding of what it is that we're experiencing and what's going on. But spirituality goes in a spiral. So it starts with A, then it's 50, and then it's Z, and then it's 2. So it's like all over the place, and it seems random, but it's actually a spiral, and it does all come together just like this does. But my husband was standing in our front room. Well, okay. So we were on the couch watching TV, and I said, something's going on in the front room. I just saw an angel walk across. Huge, like head up to the ceiling, walk across. So I could see like the shadow of someone walking across because we have a big window in the front. So we paused the show we were watching. I went up front and I could feel this energy. And I was told that a portal was opening up front. And my husband wound up coming up and going into like the laundry room and then walked out. And he stood there and he was talking to me right in front of the doorway into the laundry room. And I said, "This is a heart portal that opened up here." And my husband is very clairvoyant, naturally clairvoyant. And he's not one to feel energy. So clairsentience is clear feeling. And he's not one of those people. And he goes, "What's happening to me?" And as soon as he said that, a second beforehand, on his left side, from about here down his shoulder, like a watercolor, it was glowing green and it was pulling off of him. Like, I was dumbfounded seeing it because it was just so magical. And he goes, "What's happening? I feel," and all he was going like this, and he goes, "I'm out," and he goes in the other room. But it validated, that green heart portal for me as well. So those are just some of the things that I've experienced. But I see a lot of things and feel, and it's really, life is way more magical than we're told.
Thank you so much for sharing. I would love to ask you about the beings that you saw in your home. I've always been so curious because there's this whole world of beings and entities that we can't see with our eyes. And you often hear about like ghosts, maybe people sensing ghosts in their home, but there's all of these positive beings too. Is it normal for there to be beings in people's homes cleansing the energy or protecting them or whatever?
Very normal. We have to remember, I don't even use the word ghosts anymore, because when I died, I'm a person that just happens to be in spirit. So there's no separation between us and the spiritual realm. So when we're standing here and we're looking up at the sky saying, "I miss you, Grandma. I wish I could see you, your dog that passed," something like that, they're not up there. They're standing in front of you going, "Hello, I'm right here." So everything is right here. But there are land spirits. Our home is an entity. Mine introduced herself to me. I've seen gargoyles, protectors of the land. Like, I'll call in and say certain prayers, and then I'll see these beings and I'm told to look it up. So what a fun age to be woo-woo in, because they will say, "Google it." And I Googled this tiger being in my yard that was holding a wooden coin. And it's actually like a Chinese god or deity that protects those that are disabled, my heart problem or my heart issue. And I asked for protection and protection of the land. And that's what this being does. So I saw it right before I was giving one of my classes. It just was like a flash of this tiger with a wooden, but there are so many beings, brownies and gnomes that I've seen in my garden. I love to garden. I had a visitation from a gnome on my bed in the middle of the night. Just they are everywhere. Spirits of the land, the trees, everything overlapping ours.
I have to ask you about the nature spirits. Have you seen them? Because I don't have clairvoyance. I can't see things, but I can sense presences. And so I feel like if I'm going swimming and there's spirits in the water, I can sense that. But I'm just so curious what they are.
Yes, so the water undines. So each element has different beings of that element. So like the air sifts and all of these different beings, the land gnomes. There's just so many beings, and I perceive in many different ways, because because we're not, like, I am very much a feeler, but this being might particularly want to connect with me through sight, because that's how they connect. So I might be like really clairvoyant with a certain being, but trusting yourself is such an amazing gift and key, because what you're feeling, that's clairsentience, that's clear feeling. So we can sense spirits where you want to look over your shoulder, or you could have sworn you saw something. A lot of times people freak out because they'll see shadow figures at the peripherals, but that's when we're using our human eyes and we're looking at the molecules. When you're looking and you perceive through, your vision on each side, your peripheral, you're seeing between the molecules. So you're actually seeing spirits and different deities and beings. But it's amazing because you can say, who's here? I would love to know who's here. And I feel you. Thank you for having me feel you. And then the claircognizance or the knowing can come in. So if something pops in your head and all of a sudden you're by the water and you just sense mermaids or gnomes or elves or anything, even if you don't even know what it is, and you're like, you're here. Like, I want to say the word sprite. So sprites and all of these other beings around. And now I'm getting goosebumps. And goosebumps are like the truth chills, validating shivers, basically. But you can ask, it's a whole sensory thing. Our entire bodies are these sensors. We're a portal and a vortice, and we all channel. We all channel. People don't realize it. It's very normal. I call it living paranormally because it is very normal to be paranormal. And the more that I do this, the more that I've had discussions with family members and everything that are like, I see people that have passed, and I just watched a frog just like dive bomb into my garden out there. So I've never seen that before. So, and the dragonfly is still here. So I could feel like your, Melissa, your very earth grounding energy. It's like witchy shamanic put together.
Oh, thank you. That's the best compliment ever.
But it is so much fun, and it's really about trusting yourself, because when we walk out, when we're mindful and we're present in the moment, which means, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you know in this present moment? You're not daydreaming and thinking about things you need to do, you didn't do, you're upset about. You're in the present moment, with the breath, and you're able to perceive so much more in that way. That's why meditation is so vital, because it teaches you how to be present and be aware. And that's such a key thing to be able to help you develop your gifts.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that, because so many people ask this question: how can I develop my spiritual gifts or receive divine messages or connect with my guides or whatever it may be? And that's exactly what I've found for myself too. It's the more present you are, the more you can tune into those subtler frequencies of energy. And it's so important, I think, in today, like with all the screens and everything shortening our attention spans, it's all the more important to develop that skill of just being able to be present.
Yes. And I honestly really thought I stunk at meditating when I first started, because they call it the monkey mind is the ego, the monkey mind that's always thinking, and the thoughts and everything else. I call mine the screaming goats. That's what mine are screaming goats. If you haven't heard that, they're hysterical. Screaming goats, that's what I have. I would have so much going on in there, and I'm going, wow. But then you notice you have less and less. And then some days you have way more. It ebbs and it flows. And it's okay. The thoughts are there for you to recognize them and let them float by. You are not your thoughts. You're just experiencing these things. And you're allowing them to float by and go. And the more you do that, again, I really always thought I was horrible with meditating, and I would do it in so many different ways. So there's guided meditations, binaural beats. You can listen to music. There's so many different things that you can do. Shamanic drumming, I love as well. So there's a lot of different things. And I intuitively ask, what should I listen to today? And sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's walking meditation. Sometimes you can meditate while you're cleaning the house because you're mindful in the moment. And I channel a lot of different things. I channeled messages when my dad was going through his prostate cancer, and I was folding the clothes, and I had gotten messages for him and called my mom. So, I mean, walking meditations, it's being mindful in the moment. When you're exercising, you can meditate in that moment. Feel the muscles. What do you feel? What do I need to know? Just being open. And it's really powerful, and it really is life-changing.
You mentioned that you've had other spiritual experiences since your NDE. Are there any others that like stand out to you that you would like to share about?
Yes. So we wound up getting in 2023 earlier. And Spirit nudged me to get another puppy. And I'm like, okay, I still have my heart stuff. We have 2 dogs, 2 cats. Like I was kind of arguing with my guides. Really? You want me to get another dog? So fast forward, and I'm like, my husband's name is Ray. And I'm like, Ray, another dog, another dog. Like it's important. Penny is 13 years old. Lola is 9 years old. And they're both, very healthy and everything, at the time, super healthy. And my husband's like, okay. And I kept looking for a dog, and I found this one puppy on this rescue site. And I emailed them, and they said, you fill out an application and everything. So she says, we're having an event tomorrow morning if you want to come, and you'll be able to see this puppy there amongst other puppies if you want to look. And I'm like, okay, wonderful. So I'm like, this is the puppy I want. And when I woke up the next morning, it was Saturday morning when we were going to go to this event. And it was like I opened my eyes and I closed my eyes. I saw a puppy in my mind's eye, and it was not the puppy I was looking at. She had like this little mole. I could see her little face. Her snout was darker, almost like a black mouth cur. And I was told by Spirit, you're going home with the dog today. And the lady told me specifically, you don't go home that day with the dog because we take all of the applications and we see who's the best fit for the baby. It's like adopting a human child, We've always gone to like local county rescues, totally different. So we went there, and I held this puppy that I was looking at, and I'm like, oh, you're super sweet, but you're not mine. Like I could feel, I'm like, you're not my baby. You belong to someone else. Thank you for letting me hold you. And my husband, the lady said, who else would you want to see? And we were looking around at all the other puppies, and I'm like, her name was Butterscotch there. Her name now is Olive. And I'm like, I'd love to see Butterscotch. So Ray picked her up, and he goes, oh my gosh, she feels just like our Penny, because Penny has super soft ears. And I was holding her, and, they were going through all this stuff. Well, we never put her back. The lady said there's no other interest in her because she's supposed to be huge, and bigger dogs don't get adopted. So you can take her home today. And I was like, oh, okay. And it wasn't until we got home where the guide said to me, what did they say to you today? Look at her. What did they say to you? And I looked at Olive, and I'm like, and then I remembered Olive is the face that I saw. She has a mole right here, and she's like black mouth cur mix. And we brought her home that day. So that was one of the experiences. And oh my gosh, what else happened? So I had done a meditation connecting with the Arcturians, galactic beings. And I went outside, and I was, talking to the sky and just praying. And I noticed above Jupiter, there was a star, like right above Jupiter. And I remember looking and going, there's no star above Jupiter. And all of a sudden, as soon as I said that, it glowed. It went really bright and dimmed. And I said, is that you? Are you the Arcturians? And it blinked like several more times, and then it stopped. And I knew, you just know that it's them. Another experience, this happened before my NDE, because I remember asking, why didn't I see this being that I call Lorelei? And she is like an Arcturian hybrid being. She's blue. And years ago, my eyes closed in the morning. I saw clear as day this female, and she was moving her mouth. I couldn't hear her though. She was moving her mouth, and she was going like this with her hands. And this is how I saw her. I could see like bust and up, and she was going like this with her hands. And then she went like this, and these gray sprinkles flew out of her hands and went into me, and I could feel it, and my head felt funny. And I remember getting a little anxious because I was having dizzy spells a few days beforehand. And she was telling me, I couldn't hear her, but I knew she was saying, it's okay. It's okay. You're not going to get dizzy. I'm working in the gray matter in your brain. And I could see she had freckles all along here, her nose. And I mean, I could see her, no hair, clear as day. I could see her. And I remember after my NDE, when I was home, I said, Lorelei, why didn't I see you? Why didn't I see you? And she goes, because I'm not dead. And I went, you're alive. So she's connecting with me telepathically. She's alive. So a lot of these guides that we also have are living beings in alternate dimensions that are working with us. I've seen a UFO and it flew off, but really the most profound things that happened is I wound up going through what's called the dark night of the soul. And I have gone through, do shadow work, right? You're working on those lower vibrational things that we don't want to look at, the shame and traumas and stuff that we've gone through. And this was different. I didn't feel excited about anything. I didn't know who I was. I felt disconnected. I could channel for everybody else, but it was like radio silence from myself. And that has never happened to me before. Never, ever, never happened to me before. And it was 2 months I was in it. Grateful for that because there are people that I've met that have been in it for years. And I kept it to myself. I remember telling my husband about it, and he was so sweet. It was a very Ross and Rachel moment because I said to him, I'm going through this, and I was getting a lot of validation that it was the dark night of the soul. So I did feel a little bit better that I knew what it was finally. But I'm like, I don't know how to get over this. And my husband goes, well, how can I help you get under it? So he was like taking me to plant nurseries and getting me plants. And I'm like, this isn't something you can buy off. Like, I appreciate it, but I really need to navigate this on my own. I need to figure it out. And I finally wound up telling one of my best friends, and she goes, Kristen, why would you hide this from me? I'm like, I didn't want to take you down. I was a total buzzkill. And she goes, but that's what I'm here for. We help one another. So as soon as that happened, because every time I would go outward during this and it was like, I need a reading, and I would like want to go to a mentor or something, the one thing the guides would say to me is, no, go within, go within. So it was meditations and things like that. So that communication I was getting. So I knew I couldn't find what I was looking for outside of me. It was inside. But when I mentioned it to my friend, I wound up typing. That's when Merlin came back and said, I didn't turn you off. I turned you on to your inner standing, to have everything, your true self, come out. After I went through that, and then I was channeling, and it was like I was turned on again, and I was channeling all of this stuff for myself and seeing things and all of that all over again. And then I was so for the past couple of years, I knew my Kundalini was starting to awaken, that life force energy that's like the serpent, they call it, at the base of the spine. And I never knew if did it fully awaken? Where's it at? Like, I didn't know. I know my Kundalini is working through there. But the one thing that I would constantly get was early in the morning between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. only, I would be so violently ill, throwing up and everything, so incredibly sick. And it would lay me out for days afterwards. And it was sporadic. I went to the doctor. They couldn't find out what would cause it because it was like a week later it would happen, a month later, 2 months later. And when we got Olive, it stopped. The guide said, this is a spiritual journey for you. We're going to stop it because we got Olive at 2 months old. So all of a sudden, one morning, they said, we're not going to do this until Olive is a year older. And it was like, okay. All of a sudden, one morning, I got up and I could tell what was happening. And I was sick for like 7 hours. It was the longest I've ever been sick. When's her birthday? December 5th. This was December 5th. This happened. And of last year, 2024. And after I was better and I was sitting on the couch and I was having tea, the guides came in and said, what's today? And I'm like, I don't know what today is. What's today? And I love when they channel like that and they ask you questions, because they said Olive. And I went, oh my God, today's Olive's birthday. They waited until she was a year old, like they promised. And I had the finishing purgings. So after the dark night of the soul, fast forward, I had a full Kundalini awakening. And was told I have been purging the past couple of years. That's what the vomiting and everything was for, because it's cleansing and getting it. You can't hide anything. It is bringing your true self out. It is bringing all of these traumas, all of these things. things from alternate lives. I would have dreams and not understand it because I was working through emotions. And then I had this divine feminine awakening. The magenta flame came forward, which is a divine feminine thing. I mean, all of these different things came forward, and it has been so profound. Because, like I said earlier in the conversation, I was a closet pessimist. I cared. Let's give you an example of Kristen. I was so scared. I was scared of the dark until I was in my 30s, till I awakened. I was afraid to drive, so much so that when I did drive, I would only stay in one lane because I was afraid to change lanes. And then, when you have to go into a turning lane, but you don't have a light, a turn light, you have to wait for traffic. I would get so anxious because I'm like, I could have gone. Is the person behind me mad at me? That's Kristen. I was so scared. If my hair was a certain way, I didn't change it because this person liked it. And all these, I didn't know who Kristen was because I was trying to be for everybody else, people pleasing to the nth degree. This taught me who I am, that this is my truth. Because and it's interesting, I was scrolling through my phone a month ago and I was on another podcast, and I would read, the different questions or responses on there and answer some things. But I happened to, how you scroll down on your phone to see your alerts and your notifications and stuff. And I went like this to put it back up and put my phone down, but the podcast popped up and it actually brought me to a comment. I didn't click on anything. And the comment said, her mannerisms show me that she's not honest. I went, oh, that's a shame. And I just put it down. And I said, guides, why would I see that? And they're like, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. And they're like, that right there, that would have sent me. I would have been bedridden and sad and upset over a comment like that. But what I know now is that these are my experiences, and I do not need any outward validation from anybody else. No one experienced this but me. You want to listen? I welcome it. You have questions? I'll answer them. But I don't need to listen to all the other stuff. I don't need to take anything to heart for someone that's going to critique something that they haven't experienced themselves. And that goes for us all individually in our own lives. You become this lighthouse when you become your true self. And Kundalini Shakti, the divine feminine that comes up like a certain serpent from the base of the spine of that root chakra, it hits everything, all of your insecurities, all of these different things. And it doesn't care what your name is, you're male or female, you're Catholic, you're this religion, you're this political view. It doesn't care. Who are you inside? And that's what this journey has done. And as amazing as my experiences have been, and as profound as my near-death experience was, I'm different in the best way possible, feeling more like myself and being okay if someone's like, gives me like one of those looks and I'm like, all right, you're not for me. Next. I'm not going to use my energy on that. So it's been an amazing journey in finding who I am, not Kristen, but who my soul really is. And my relationships are deeper. Some have broken away because like attracts like. Your inner world is your outer world. So people that I no longer vibrated with went away. New gifts come forward because the more you lean into them, the more they come forward. So I've learned to trust myself. I've learned to trust my gut. So when I remember being around someone that was by me during, by me during my near-death experience. And when I saw this person like a month or so after it occurred, I heard in my head, oh, great, she's not going to shut up about this. And I thought, that's my ego. And the guides came back and said, that's not your ego. I'm able to hear and feel other people's. If it pertains to me. It's not in an intrusive way, but if it pertains to me and my highest good, I can feel into that. And I trust me. I trust my gut. I trust my choices. I'm not perfect, but I flow with it. I can course correct more now. It's been the most difficult I have ever been through, and the most rewarding thing that you just can't find anywhere else.
Thank you, Kristen, so much for sharing your experiences. I would like to give you a chance to share with people where they can find you and anything that you do or you have going on that you would like them to know.
You can find me at infiniteheartandsoul.com. I'm on Facebook and TikTok. I am camera shy. I am coming out more to do more videos. I will be starting my next channeling class. So I do healings and activations. I teach people to channel however you channel, whether it's mediumship or guides, living your best life. So I will be updating. It should start this coming September, but you can check my website for the actual dates. But I'm a channel. I want to help people live their best life, their heaven on earth, and whatever that looks like. So when I do sessions, if it's mediumship, or I'm not I want to book a mediumship reading with you type of person, because some people, they're not ready to hear it, or maybe I'm not connecting and there are other messages that need to come through from guides to be able to help first. And that's how I flow. It's been amazing to meet such beautiful souls on this journey and to be able to help people navigate human life, navigate if you're wanting to learn how to use your gifts, what's happening with you, all of that. And that's what I do. I kind of encompass all of that.
I'll have those links in the description so people can check them out. And now I want to close out by asking you two quick questions that I ask all of my guests. And the first one is, what is the best way to connect to the bliss of the other side while in the body?
Your creative self. If you want to connect with God, with this beautiful bliss and divine beings on the other side, being creative and doing things that lift your spirits, that's them flowing through you. Because a lot of times when you're doing these things, when I'm gardening, decorating, if you're painting, things like that, you might get insights and just know certain things and have all of this beautiful energy flow. You just feel like you're in the flow, right? They call it that flow. You're feeling this life force, beautiful spiritual energy. So be creative, do things that lift your spirits in that way. And that's spirit. That's this beautiful bliss working through you.
I love that answer. And my final question is, if you could give one message to everyone on the planet, what would it be?
One message: be you. Be unapologetically, amazingly you. Because that's how you find your soul tribe and your people. Not fitting into a box that other people want you in. Who are you? And allowing yourself the joy and the amazingness to discover how absolutely gloriously amazing that you are. And to know that when I was with God, He was so proud of me. And it's such a misconception thinking that you need to do certain things and have certain steps in order to be with God. You are absolutely perfect who you are, and you're doing amazing. And that was the biggest takeaway when I was with Source, is to know that all of the rights, all of the wrongs, all of the joys, all of the fall on my faces are rejoiced by God. And it's about the experiences, and be true to who you are. Don't hide your true self to appease others. The only validation you need is from you, and that's it.
Thank you so much for watching. My guests' links can be found in the description box. If you have had a near-death experience, pre-birth experience, out-of-body experience, past or between life memories, or spiritual awakening story that you would like to share, find the link to apply in the description box. If you would like to support the channel, we have a few fun ways that you can do that. I do have a merch store linked in the description. We've put some of the phrases on t-shirts that you guys requested. I have affiliate links to my favorite blue blockers, my favorite red light panel, and a couple of other companies that I work with. You can join my membership at the Sanctuary. You can sign up for an energy healing. I also offer a 4-session energy healing package. You'll find all these links in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Now go live your most extravagantly loving life.